everyone, it's Bola from Curly Bee, and today's video is going to be about just me giving you some tips on how to retain length if you have fine hair. Now, someone asked me on a previous video if I could do a video about this, so here it is. I want to tell you some of the things that I've been trying and some of the things I think are good things to try if you have fine hair and you're looking to really retain length. So the first thing I would say is get a good regime in hand. Get a good regime set. Have a regular time when you wash your hair, condition your hair, moisturize your hair, seal your hair and style your hair. And I think once you've got those in place, then it will really go a long way towards you retaining length. If you're just washing your hair maybe twice a week, 1 week, and then once every 3 weeks, and then once every 6 weeks, and you keep changing it, you don't know what your hair really likes and what it really responds well to. So if you have a regular regime, then you can see whether your hair really likes responds well to that regime, or whether you need to tweak something or change something in order for you to retain moisture better. Okay, another tip I would give would be to do lots of protective styling. Maybe those of us that have finer hair strands will need to do more of this. And if you look on my Instagram at Curly Bola, you'll see that most of the styles that I do are protective styles. So they are styles that tuck away my ends. So at the moment I'm doing a bun style, so all my ends are tucked away, and they're also tucked away at the front as well. And I just try and do lots and lots of styles where my ends are not out, because it becomes dry and the weather really affects this as well, and then there's more risk of breakage. So I'll say protective styling. I personally don't like using extra hair like extensions or weaves. I just like working with my own hair, and that's for a number of reasons. But you know, if your hair responds well to that and it's fine, it doesn't break or it doesn't put too much stress on your edges or anything like that, then say go ahead and use that. But I say definitely try and do styles that keep your ends tucked away. Okay, another tip I would give would be to not manipulate your hair too often. I would say try not to style your hair every day. Try and maybe have one style a week, or maybe two at the most, and again make sure it's a protective style perhaps. And I like to do styles where I can just simply put on a scarf when I'm going to bed, and that's it. And then in the morning I just take off the scarf, you know, fluff with the front, maybe tidy up the sides and the back, and then that's it. I go. And I like styles like that where I don't need to keep messing with my ends. I find styles like maybe like curl formers or twist outs, I find I have to keep retwisting each night. There's more risk of breakage, there's more risk of damage to your hair. So if you can find a style where your ends are tucked away and you don't have to manipulate it every day, every night, then I think that really goes a long way towards you retaining length. Okay, another tip I would give would be to cut out heat. If you have fine hair, heat is not your best friend. Look for other ways to stretch your hair. I personally like using African threading, and if you've watched again some of my previous videos, you'll see how I use African threading to really stretch my hair, and you can get a really good stretch, and it looks just like you've blow dried your hair. And it doesn't take too long, it takes a bit of practice, but not very much at all, and your hair is not being dried out by using the blow dryer or flat iron. So if you've got fine hair, I would say stay away from heat. Maybe use it once a year if you really have to. There are some naturals that I watch, they've got thicker hair texture, thicker hair strands, and I see that they use heat quite regularly, maybe once a month, and their hair is absolutely fine. I think if you've got fine hair, you can't really do that without incurring a lot of damage, so I would say stay away from heat. Okay, another tip I would give would be to, when you're sealing your hair, when you're moisturising and sealing your hair, to give lots of attention to your ends. Just give them lots of moisture, give them lots of the leave-in conditioner that you're putting in, and maybe seal with a heavier oil, maybe like olive oil, which penetrates the hair strand, or castor oil is a good oil as well. Nice and heavy, just on the ends, not throughout, or it might be a bit too greasy, but just on the ends. And you know, if you do that once or twice a week, or however often you moisturise your hair, you're really looking after those ends, and you're going to retain that length. Okay, another tip I would give would be to, if you have quite fine hair that tangles easily, especially at the ends like mine, or your hair has really high shrinkage, which mine does, then keeping my hair stretched has helped me retain length. When I do styles where my hair is not stretched, I get a ton of single strand knots, and I know some people say, oh well, you can just leave them there, but on my hair it just doesn't work. I'll have some single strand knots, and the hairs will start to, other hairs will start to sort of get tangled in it, and then my shed hairs would get tangled in it, and it would just end up being a big tangle. And so if I get single strand knots, then I tend to cut them out. Now if you're always cutting those off, then you're not going to see length, you're not going to retain length. So I have found that keeping my hair stretched in stretch styles for most of the time has really helped me to retain length, and I've done this obviously by not using heat, by using African threading. And I'll say that if you're having lots of single strand knots, to obviously keep on top of moisturising your ends, making sure that the oil that you're putting is really reaching there, but also keeping your hair in stretch styles and not letting it dry and not be stretched in any sort of way. So using twists or braids or African threading, don't just let it sort of shrink into a small afro, even though that can look really good, and I'd love to do that as well. But if I did those sorts of styles, I'll just get loads of single strand knots, and I'll have to cut them out. So for me, it's not worth it, and I hope one day I can find a way to maybe do some of those styles without having the knots, but at the moment I can't. So I would say just try keeping your hair stretched for 90% of the time if you can do that. The next tip I would give for those of you who have fine hair and you're looking to retain length is to perhaps try henna. And last year I tried henna a total of 4 times, and I found that it really conditioned my hair well, really strengthened it well. That's what I was using it for, to strengthen my hair. And I'll definitely say, if you've got fine hair and you're looking to strengthen it and to stop it from perhaps having so much breakage due to environment or manipulation, perhaps you're just looking generally to strengthen your hair, I would say definitely try henna. But I would say that if you do try henna, to follow it up with a good deep condition, and not only just after you've used the henna, but also just regularly in your regime. I found that since I have used henna, after the 3rd time I used henna, I noticed my hair getting drier and drier, and so I changed the way that I deep condition my hair. And so now, if you've watched on previous videos, you'll know that now I deep condition my hair overnight. I don't just spritz it every day. I do a really long deep condition overnight, and that really goes a long way to helping me retain moisture. You'll need to perhaps make that change so your hair doesn't become really dry if you start to use henna. Okay, another tip I would give would be to cover your head. Now, in previous winters, I've not really followed this tip at all because I didn't think it made a massive difference, but I did try it this winter just to use things like scarves or my hat. Every time I went out and it was really cold or windy, I'll just cover my head, making sure that I had like my silk bonnet underneath my hat, so the cotton hat didn't, absorb the moisture. And I just noticed a really big difference in how my hair retains moisture, which is obviously going to help with length retention because my hair is going to be dry and breaking. So I say definitely play around with scarves if you haven't already, and you don't have to cover all of your head. If you look at some of the styles that I've got on Instagram, sometimes I just leave my bang area out and I cover the rest, or I might just cover this area. I think just covering even just a small part can help, but if you can again make sure it's the ends that you're covering, that would be even better. So I'd definitely say do that. And I prefer to use things like scarves and things like that to cover my head again, instead of using weaves or wigs, just because I personally don't really like wearing wigs or weaves and things like that. I think that it makes me lazy. Personally, if I had like extensions or a weave or wig, I would sort of just forget about my hair and not keep on top of moisturizing it. So I personally just don't like to use those, but I like to just use my own hair and use the scarves that I have to create new styles while protecting my hair as well. So those are the tips I would give to any person who has natural hair, but particularly to those of us who have finer hair, which is more fragile and more susceptible to becoming dry and to break. And I hope those tips help you in retaining length and achieving your hair goals. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again on the next video.